If you're invited upon the stage, you may ask your question.
Does fear play a crucial role in our lives, or should we try and eliminate it?
You shouldn't do anything, including not trying to do nothing.
How do I tell the difference between being and conditioning?
It's all conditioning.
If you fundamentally disagree with someone you love, should you find compromise or ignore and stick to your beliefs and move on?
There's no should.
Hi, sir. Hope you're well. I'm just curious, based on the work that you do and everything that you put out, do you feel a sense of meaning or purpose or joy? Personally?
It doesn't matter.
If you were to share one truth that you are okay to share for free, obviously, what would it be? Thank you.
Well, there are many that I've already shared. There's no such thing as isolate one of them.
Purpose of life. Is there any such kind of purpose? And any shortcut way or long way to find a purpose for life?
Life has no purpose.
Hey, Kapil. I've tried to ask you this before, and maybe I worded it, in a manner that wasn't worth answering. But briefly, can you sort of put some context around the idea of arrival?
It's not wise to ask open-ended questions like, can you explain this and that? Can you put context around this and that? If you have a specific question, answer it. I'm not interested in going into big, long discourses or discussions.
Hi, Kapil. Why is there an urge with me to make people understand me and try to influence their opinion about me?
Ego.
Hi, Kapil. My question is, it's been something I've been thinking about for a while, but and obviously I know you're a father. My question is it basically I've been thinking about not having children in the future, like I guess like ever, so to speak. But I wanted to ask you, is that not if it's good or bad, but is that something that would you say is against nature, so to speak? Or is that not relevant?
No, whatever you're moved to do, if you're truly moved to do something.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be in the room with you. I have a question about mind restlessness. Are there specific tools behind mind restlessness, and why I'm always jumping from one thought to the other? Because I see the mind using its central character in most of its thoughts, but some just also appear to be completely random. So is it just about further exposure to two?
It's too open-ended a question.
Okay.
That's not a specific enough question. I mean, that could be discussed for years.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry if the previous speaker stopped. Maybe there was a network issue. My question, Kapil, is, and thanks for your time again, is what's the difference between being detached and being emotionally dead? Because if I'm detached, then I'm not affected by the emotions. And then my family thinks that I'm emotionally dead because I'm not responding to the emotions.
Well, there's a massive difference. The problem is that where you are right now, you will not be ready for the answer. Therefore, there's no point in discussing it.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for letting me speak. I wanted to know, well, for me, I've always equated satisfaction with a good feeling, right? And I wanted to know what is satisfaction, because if I don't think it's about feeling good. If I'm let's just say I'm I'm pursuing a craft and I'm caught up in the end result or what it may look like, or feeling good about the end result, then to me, that is not satisfaction. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but what is satisfaction?
I don't think it's about the definition of the term. I think maybe the place to look is to realize that if there's a need to be satisfied, then whatever one has been doing has only been temporary chases. And so to understand that everything in your life, however you define it, is fundamentally a temporary chase, and not to use that as a judgment against yourself. But you may want to look there.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. On rare occasions, I've had an impression, I guess I would call it, of consciousness beyond ego, but I'm wondering if that's illusory and what is the relationship between ego and consciousness? Thank you.
It often doesn't help to pay attention to such experiences. They tend to be distractions.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you. Could you help me understand why some people like myself are unable to arrive at basic truths? For example, that there's no good, there's no bad, there's no should and shouldn't. It seems like I can see it clearly, but it's just information, and it's looking through a window without having actually arrived at personally, truly understanding those things. Why can I not arrive at that, whereas
when
others like yourself
is so
can?
Deep for so many years, since the day one has been born, one has been conditioned on a daily basis for 30, 40, 50, 70 years. That conditioning is so deep, it's hardened into concrete. Therefore, while it does take time for truths to enter, it isn't a matter of time. It's really a matter of exposure. And the exposure comes from a longing and a sincerity for the truth, which compels one in the direction of exposure. So that's why it is difficult, because the only loudspeaker and the only message and the only radio station that one has heard is completely contrary to the truth. And that's the only thing that they've heard for their entire lives. So it would seem unreasonable to expect that upon hearing it 1 or 2 or 5 or 9 times, that's but a drop in the bucket as compared to the millions and billions of times that one has not only heard, but by result imbibed all that one has heard. So it's like a drop of water against a 3,000-foot peak of rock. So that's why it's difficult. But by no means is it impossible, and by no means do I intend to encourage you toward the direction of truth either.
Hey, Kapil. First thing I want to say, thanks a lot for the work that you put out. Definitely some of the stuff that you write or talk about hits home for me on some level. So please continue on doing the work that you do. My question to you is there something to be learned from another human being that is not considered to be prescription, or eventually that falls into their own prescriptions later on? If there is, what does that look like?
So if you live for your entire life, if you ever in your life meet a person who does not prescribe and does not even believe in the notion of prescribing, write the person's name down.
Hi, Kapil. My question is, does the likelihood of arrival for a person come down as one ages?
Well, it doesn't matter what age one is. No one's going to arrive. On a practical level, no one is going to. maybe one, maybe two, maybe three in the world. Does the potential exist? Absolutely. Every human being has the potential to. But on a practical level, what's actually going to happen? Virtually no one. It doesn't matter if you live to be 400 years old. You're not going to arrive.
Hi, Kapil. A lot of gratitude for your work. Can a man learn to control his sincerity? Sincerity is so pivotal in accomplishing and achieving anything.
It can be cultivated, but it really isn't about controlling it. It's recognizing really the massive or fairly large step is just the recognition and the understanding that sincerity is necessary. The vast majority of human beings will never be told that, even that statement alone. So the very fact that you you have either read or understood or imbibed that fact alone provides you with really an upper hand in many ways that most will never even approach, because they will do everything by way of brute force and physicality and hard work and all of these things, as opposed to recognizing the precursors.
Thank you.
Hi, Kapil. So I have a sincere question here, which is, I have noticed that I have a manufactured self, and this is such a sad understanding. And then, I also notice I'm all motivated by the desires of this manufactured self, and then how my innate desires are gonna be revealed to me. Like how? I mean, I don't want to say how can I find them, because finding them by itself means that I have a preposition. But how those innate desires will come out? And I don't want to. I'm not how to prescription. I mean, I'm a little worried. Maybe I'm missing that. But what if they don't?
You're not sure what you want to ask.
Hi, Kapil. I'm increasingly aware of my distinct lack of purity in almost all interactions and almost everything I say. And I just wanted to...
I cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to... Can you hear me now? I just wanted to say...
It's a little bit louder, but I can't really hear you. The volume is very low.
Sorry. I just wanted to ask whether I'm increasingly aware of my lack of purity in almost all interactions and all conversations, and to some degree it's making me feel a bit sick. But I just wanted to ask, is the process for which regaining one's purity just understanding how unpure he really is? Is that the first step? Thank you.
Well, a lot of impurity can be recognized by the fact that one wishes to socialize in the first place.
Is regret a necessary part of life?
Your entire intention is revealed by the word necessary. Behind that word necessary is a veritable institution of prescriptions and beliefs and dogmas and should or should not. That's kind of like saying, is facing one's fears necessary? The word necessary demonstrates a conditioned view upon things, which makes the question invalid and therefore any response to it unnecessary.
Do I first need to be in a state of suffering together? For example, if I want to understand the source of my fear, I need to be afraid. I need to assess my fear. The same goes for self-doubt, insecurity, any kind of suffering, any kind of problem. Is the feeling the way for truth?
Okay, you are the place in your life where you are too enthusiastic to know the answer, and that degree of enthusiasm will prevent you from the seriousness that is required to reach what you seek.
Hello. My question was, is solitude and silence completely necessary to recognize prescriptions and things put upon by society? Or can a man achieve, quote unquote, arrival just through non-resistance by socializing? My question is, does it have to be in solitude?
That isn't your real question. Your real question is it okay to socialize?
What is the greatest thing your children taught you as a teacher of you?
You know, these things look nice in magazines, but they're just empty chit-chat.
I'm referencing your book.
It is all about context. It is all about the source from which one is coming. It is all about the place from which one is asking.
Only allow us to live indefinitely.
You are absolutely in the wrong place. This is the absolute worst place that you could be.
Hello. So my question is, what is it that's stopping us from going from an intellectual understanding to a visceral understanding? And I ask this because I want to arrive at no involuntary thought. And I know that what's stopping me is my wants and desires, insecurities, which obviously comes from my thoughts. And so this is my question. What is stopping us? Because I want it and I'm sincere. And I know there's something stopping me from getting that. So I want to know what that is. Thank you.
Exposure. Systematic, non-stop exposure. And if one does that prescriptively, that will do nothing for him also. An exposure that is genuine and is born of his own desire and his own longing to really get somewhere in this life, not an exposure because he listens to me and says that he's thinking that I'm telling him that he should expose himself. I'm not telling you anything. If one wishes to expose himself to truth and that longing is deep within him, then he will. And through that longing, and thus the exposure, things tend to happen. What happens? Will they happen? I don't know. But that's exposure is really the elixir.
And would this just be exposure to your work?
Exposure to truth, wherever you can find it, so long as it is truth and not prescription.
And how would I know if it's truth?
Well, if you read my work and something speaks to you that it's truth, not that it should, then that should give you the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, try it again.
Okay, thank you. In my life, I realized that the pursuits I enter, I get singularly focused very quickly. And that's the only thing I think of all day, is that pursuit. But I realized that none of those pursuits last. What is the reason this happens?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by pursuit. I mean, I don't know what you mean by pursuit. Pursuit of what?
For example, a craft.
I'm sorry?
A craft, for example, a sport or education.
I'm not sure what you mean by they don't last. If you are pursuing a craft, I'm not sure what you mean by it doesn't last.
My devotion doesn't last.
Okay.
What is the reason this happens?
Because you're not devoted to it.
Hi, Kapil. How would you go about assisting a young athlete in terms of fear of failure? And why does it arise?
You know, that's too open-ended a question. What do you really want to ask?
Just in terms of, you know, the fear of performance, you know, for example, if they're playing in a basketball game.
It's too open-ended.
So there are two voices in my head. Which one should I listen to? Like, which one is the truth, if I may say?
Neither.
The way that I pursue my work does not necessarily give me happiness, but what gives me happiness does not necessarily bring me a lot of money. How should I balance it?
There is no balance.
Hello, Kapil, can you hear me? All right, I assume that means yes. Well, why masses are not seeking the truth in general? What is the main reason of that?
Well, it's about you, not the masses. What do you care what the masses do? Do the masses come to your house and have dinner with you every night? Do the masses sleep with you in your bedroom? Do the masses go to the bathroom with you?
Well, you know...
Do the masses go on drives with you? Why do you care about the masses?
At some point, you know...
What does it matter? What does it matter if the entire masses are wise and they're all seeking truth, or all the masses have nothing to do with truth? What does that have to do with you?
You know, if everyone would seek the truth, the life would be easier in general.
There's no everyone. This is the questions today are really bad. They're really bad. These are such stupid questions. They have no relevance to the individual. They're just generalized chit-chat nonsense.
Run away from pain and misery because he thinks that there is a way out of it, or because that's just his nature.
Why does it matter?
I'm asking because I've tried everything and I'm absolutely done with prescriptions, but all I'm left with is like pain. Sometimes it's almost paralyzes me, you know. So I'm thinking that this idea of the truth is creating a hope that there is a way out. And I mean,
and that's what happens. That's what happens when you prescriptionize truth. And this is the danger that people run into when they read my work. And I don't blame them, because that's what they are used to. And therefore, if all you have known and the only way that you have done things is one way, then naturally any new thing that you come upon, you're going to view it and interact with it in the very same way, because that's all you know. And this is the trouble, is that people come to my work and through not necessarily any fault of their own, they bring their own their old sensibilities with them. They bring their old viewpoints with them. They bring their old way of examining with them. And they look into my stuff, and whatever things they see, even though I prescribe nothing, I go out of my way not to prescribe nothing. In fact, I tell people, don't even listen to what I say. But because they have a prescription creating conditioning, then they use the things that I write and they turn it into a prescription. They turn it into an activity. They turn it into something that's a goal-oriented process, and they turn it into a method and a technique, which is what you have done also. And as soon as you do that, you miss the entire work. You miss the entire writing. Not that that's bad. Not that you shouldn't miss it. If you wish to miss it, you can. But when you miss the entire work, there's no point in reading it at all. The understanding that you have prescriptionized my work is the understanding that none of it will benefit you if you do that, as opposed to looking through the lens of openness and sincerity and not turning it and putting it through the car wash of your mind, which brings a prescription out on the other end.
You don't talk about this a lot, but you once said in a tweet that all treatments of physical ailments are placebos, and it is for this reason that they don't ever come to an end. Me, myself, having a chronic illness, maybe I was thinking you could share a truth to cure them.
I'm not sure what I said. If those were the exact words, then they were. But be careful of paraphrasing me, because I choose my words very carefully. And like I said, I am not going to challenge you on that. If that's what is written, then that's what it's written. But just be careful when you paraphrase me, because one word misplaced or you assuming that you know what I said is really the death.
Having realized that life is not really what I was told it was, and having seen through the games that I was programmed to play all through my life, I've reached a point where I've developed a deep-seated disgust towards life. Does the vitality and the will to live ever return from this point onwards?
I can't answer that for another human being. That's a very personal question, in a personal journey.
Hi, Kapil. I've been dealing with chronic fatigue syndrome for like years now, and it's really impacted all areas of my life. But it has also led me to awaken, not fully, but to an extent. Anyway, it's through your work and just everything, I've learned that there's a lot of lies, obviously, in society. So
what's your question?
In order to arrive at the truth about my situation, I'm kind of asking a prescription, but if it was you or something, what would you do? Because I don't even know where to start.
I would devote myself to understanding the truth about whatever it is that I want to know about. And that is not as vague as an answer that you think it is.
Is there an element of faith when longing for the truth?
No.
My question is that conditioning is responsible for a lot of what you have. You are miserable and you are rooted in untruth. But I feel that is not the only thing that is causing that. What are the other causes, why I'm not rooted in truth?
Why would anyone be rooted in truth if their entire life they've been exposed to virtually nothing but untruth?
Hi, Master. My question is pursuing excellence the only logical course of action when discovering truth? Thank you.
I don't understand the question.
Sometimes I feel like when I discover a truth, I don't feel like taking any action on it. But the understanding of the truth is...
So, well, I don't know what you mean by taking action. Why would you need to take action?
Perhaps to excel in this domain, but sometimes the motivation is not there.
Well, if the motivation wasn't there, then you wouldn't have gone to the trouble to seek the truth about it.
Thank you, Master.
Hello. I'm a public school teacher and I work in a high school, and I have an opportunity to work with kids, 15, 16-year-olds. And I've come so far with your work. I've come far. I've changed immensely. And I realize I have a long way to go. And yet I have time with these kids at work, and I feel negligent not sharing my understanding with them. And at the same time, I realize I have incomplete understanding. Can you offer me some guidance as to what I should or should not be comfortable sharing?
You can share whatever you feel compelled to share. I will tell you that don't be surprised if you are met with nothing but resistance, which is typically what happens when those who come to truth try to impress it or impose it upon anyone else. At the end of the day, this journey is between you and you. And if it's you reading the words, then it's between you and the words. Now, whatever you feel compelled to do, by all means, do it. But if you have the expectation in any way that because you shared it, others will listen, you will most likely meet with disappointment.
Just and respectable response to a person who is really close to you and want you to live your life according to exactly how they want, and they engage in self-harm and violent reactions when you don't do so.
Your question was unclear. It was sort of convoluted. Didn't quite understand.
Hi again. I think I speak for a lot of persons when I say that this question may stem from a misunderstanding of prescriptions, but I didn't understand the difference between trying to be sincere per se and trying to be good at something, for example. Because if I were to ask you that I want to do art and I can't, for example, you would say, if the will is there, you would do it. But when it comes to sincerity, I think you said something like just being aware is a step forward. So I don't understand the difference between there. Thank you.
You don't understand the difference between what exactly?
How can someone pursue sincerity, let's say, without pursuing a prescription?
Well, if you pursue anything as a prescription, you won't get there. So it's about learning what the truth is, not learning what to do.
Okay, thanks.
So does asking yourself relevant questions bring you closer to the true understanding of a problem?
No, it does not.
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay.
So what are...
Hang on. Why does it not?
Why does... I don't understand your question.
Why did I answer no?
I'm not too sure.
Because you are viewing it from the sense of prescription.
Yes. Yeah.
It is just like in Buddhism, they tell you watch your thoughts, be mindful, meditate. All of those things you may as well chew bubblegum. You will not get anywhere. You could do that for 500 lifetimes. You will not get anywhere. And that's why temples around the world are filled with meditators.
Yeah.
And 100 years later, they're still meditating. They're still mindfuling. So the reason that the answer to your question is no is because the context in which you asked it from the context of, if I do that as a method, like ask myself good questions, whatever it is, that is bringing the world into my domain. That is bringing the societal concepts and prescriptions and methods and techniques and hacks and all of that faulty perspective of lies. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Your question is a perfect example of what I was speaking about earlier of those who prescriptionize my work, because all they know through their own conditioning is to look at things through prescriptions. And whenever they see that I've written something, they turn it into a prescription, which is exactly what you did. You read my work and you said, oh, so this person is saying to ask questions, whatever you might have read. I don't know what you read. And then you turned it into, well, okay, fine. If I ask myself questions, then that will lead me to the promised land. No, it will not.
But does it bring you closer to?
It does nothing.
Truth?
It does nothing. And quite honestly, if all you're looking for is to get an inch closer, you're better off going to study the best-selling authors and the latest motivational speakers. And if all you want is an inch, you're better off going there. I'm not for those individuals who are looking to move an inch. I have no interest in that. If you want self-improvement, you have the world at your feet. There's libraries and libraries full of those books. Mine is not one of them.
I had a question. Have you had an underlying is your perspective towards prescriptions based on an underlying experience that you've had, like a mystical experience?
Well, why should it be my experience? Well, it should have nothing to do with my experience.
No, that was a part of my question.
Your own experience. I'm not telling you not to follow prescriptions.
Well, I'm just saying because I've had an experience and it was basically like the whole earth being ripped beneath your feet where everything was just an obstacle. And then I kind of bursted out in laughter. This was a while ago. So now you're the only...
So what's your question?
So my question is, have you personally had an experience that gives you the stance that you have?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I had an experience or not. It only matters what the truth is. And
okay, so
what you're saying, it seems that you have discovered that prescriptions have. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it seems to be what you're saying, that prescriptions have gotten you perhaps nowhere.
Well, even deeper than that, but I guess that's beyond the scope of this space. The next thing I'd like to ask is, I have a different perspective. So if I read something, I don't just take it as prescription. So if I go to, let's say, a Zen master, right, he will say, good, ask for more, go for more, right? But the contradiction, the paradox there is that the experience basically told me, or what I interpreted from the experience, that there was nothing in the first place. What do you mean by no more? But then a Zen master is saying, ask for more. So there's this paradox. There's this either he's saying ask for more just to bide your time before it ends, or there's actually more to it.
So what's your question?
Do you agree with that, or do you just think?
I have no idea. You're making up a fictional Zen master who made some vague statement, and you're asking me to comment on it.
How does one know if they're being honest with themselves about what they want?
You know.
Hi, Kapil. Despite having some understanding, why does one still play with the mind's game?
It's the only game you know.
Hey, Kapil. My question is it's regarding the truth and then losing that. So I've seen the truth. I've experienced it. And it was a beautiful place. It's freeing. It feels like a huge leap that you just previously mentioned. But then after experiencing for about a week or two, I snapped back to where I was previously.
Yeah, then it wasn't the truth. You had an experience. And that's why I said earlier to someone, don't pay attention to these experiences because they will tend to lead you astray. They are distractions. You didn't experience the truth. You just had an experience.
Hello, Kapil. There's some time now since I tried to understand the effects that chasing happiness and pleasure has on my life, and I came to realize that almost all my problems that I have stem from this need to feel good. And if that would be the entire story, then it would be quite logically or easy to walk away from it. But what I realized is if I don't engage in these things that my mind crave, that I also experience a lot of pain. So I'm wondering,
well, that's why it's not easy to walk away from.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. I cannot help but analyze all of the situations that I find myself in to try to find the truth that just has come about naturally after exposing myself to your work. At the same time, so I understand what you mean when you say the truth is the pursuit of truth. It's sort of relentless. At the same time, I don't understand how any of this could ever become permanent. This seems like it would just be an endless chase of understanding every situation that I'm in. What am I missing here?
Well, if you really want to get to the truth about something, it doesn't matter. I mean, when you arrive at the truth, that is the end. So everything does have a truth. And if it takes you a long time to find it, and you call that, quote, endless, then so be it.
Question that if I keep consciously telling myself not to follow any prescriptions to hone my craft, is that in itself?
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I mean, is that in itself?
That's a prescription.
Okay, got it.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. After listening to your discourses with Naval on hard work and anxiety, I began to wonder, how can I reconcile the truth and understanding I might feel personally and have internalized? How do I reconcile that with the fake world I interact and work and live in, where if I say the truth, I'm ridiculed and outcasted?
Well, if you think that the truth has something to do with telling truth to others, then, like I told the other individual before, you will very likely be met with disappointment. So that's your own personal journey.
Isn't the truth the same thing? Thank you.
Well, intellectual knowing is not knowing at all.
Or I'm looking for it with the wrong technique.
You must be new here.
Yes.
All techniques and methods are prescriptions. They are the holy road to hell.
Hello, Kapil. I understand that happiness and misery are two sides of the same coin. And whenever I feel depressed or sad, I understand that it's just my mind playing games with myself and I try to abstract myself from it. But whenever I feel happy...
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't understand it. You have read it. You have repeated it. You have repeated it to yourself. But you don't understand it.
Does truth have different versions, or is it the ultimate truth?
Everything has a truth. So there are some universal truths, but every unique situation for a unique individual has a truth.
Thank you.
Can a dilemma be a truth?
I don't understand the point or the logic behind the question.
If I'm in a situation where I feel there are two truths which are contradicting each other, is there something I don't understand in the situation?
No, the truths are not contradicting each other. Your mind is contradicting itself because you're looking for a choice.
Hello? Oh, hi, doctor. Hey, in one of your books, you speak of, you don't use the word visualization. You use the word in relationship to teaching someone how to golf. You said the techniques aren't working, but you tell them in your book about conceptualization, and these are the things that matter. And then your sentence ends, and I crave. I'm not looking for a technique. I'm just wondering what that means. You're talking about an outcome.
I have no idea what you're talking.
Okay.
I have no idea what
Okay.
you're talking about. I don't think I've ever used the word conceptualization.
Okay.
But if it's written, it's written. I'm not going to argue with you. But I don't know what I don't know what you're saying. I can't just go to some page in my book.
I understand.
I have no idea what I wrote.
Do is a prescription, and like I got it from somewhere else, and it's been going like that. I don't remember myself. So my question is, what is the truth about returning to one's nature and returning to being an original?
Well, if as you say you do, you have recognized the futility of prescriptions, then you genuinely will move in a different direction. But a lot of times what happens is someone say they have learned something, but really they haven't. It's just intellectual. And I'm not saying that is the case with you or it's not, but there really isn't anything to do.
What is the meaning of waterfall? And waterfall is basically, it's a cliff with water. And I look at it like that everything is like, you mean, the basic things.
I could not hear the speaker, and I recall no conversation about a waterfall. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I can't comment on something that I don't remember.
An attachment to word with feeling can provide great suffering.
Are you reading off a book or something?
No, I'm speaking to you directly.
Okay, so it sounds like you're reading something.
Nope, I'm being very direct with you.
Okay.
You are told that I would come and I am here.
Hi, Kapil. Should one listen to the heart or mind while taking a decision?
Have you tried listening to your ankle?
Pardon?
Have you tried listening to your ankle?
No.
Hi, Kapil. You multiple times you have mentioned there is a difference between improvement and transformation, and there is no prescription which can be used for transformation. If that's the case, how someone approached?
Well. Your question does not have any validity.
Okay,
because you are believing me. Your question is, if that is the case, well,
yes,
I'm not telling you to believe me.
No.
So if you're going to ask, you're not hearing me. You're only wishing to ask another question. And this is the problem when people ask a question, I give them the truth, and they ask another question. Don't ask any more questions. If your question is based upon the premise of, if I say this, then here's my question. It can't be based upon that. If you didn't recognize it and if you didn't realize it for yourself, then you're just taking my words, turning them into a belief, and then asking a question about that belief. Therefore, the entire house falls.
Hi, Kapil Gupta. So, I was listening to right now, and I want to grow myself, and I don't know. Like, I listened to yesterday Mahabharata about Krishna and Arjun, talking, and Arjun has lots of questions, and Krishna was answering Arjun's questions. So even I have I went through similar problems, challenges, like the questions that Arjun asks to Krishna.
What's your question?
So I'm wondering, whenever we go through career changes, how do how do I make those that I've learned from previous career and use it to my new career, for example?
Okay, so you're new here. So if you really want to learn, you may want to read through my stuff. There's thousands of things online and discourses and interviews and podcasts and so forth. And if you want to learn something, you can go through that. It may help you, it may not help you. And I'm not saying that you even should. But you're not. This question is totally premature. Nothing in my work is tailored toward your question, because your question, you're still at before even kindergarten crawling stages.
Okay, I see.
Hi. My question is, why speak if not to let others challenge and engage with what you speak about?
So here's a response to the previous question. There's no use in talking to him because he already has a very set stance on where he's coming from. Why do I speak if I'm not interested in discussions and engagement and whatever he said, to be challenged? Well, there's nothing to be challenged. The challenge is for someone who tells you to do something. A challenge is the person who says, make sure you listen to me. And this is what I think that you should do. But how are you going to challenge someone? What is there to challenge if I'm telling you not to even listen to me, not to really read what I write, not to even come here, and that I have nothing for you to do, and there is no should or should not? Challenge what? How can you challenge air? I'm not interested in giving my opinion, and I have no interest in hearing yours.
Hey, Kapil, you just spoke with a past person and basically said that if you read the words that I've written and you believe them, and now you're asking questions and basically making prescriptions based on that belief, then it's ineffective. So I think I've recognized that maybe some of the stuff that you've written, I've also believed, but I wouldn't have delved into your work organically if it didn't resonate with me. But I'm curious, what's the benefit of hearing the truth from another person, assuming it resonates with them, if it's ineffective to believe what that person says?
Well, there's no reason to resort to belief. If something within you if something within you detects it as truth, why the hell would you believe?
Hey, Kapil. Thank you for doing this at midday like this. I just had a really honest question, Kapil. I know you're an MD, so you're probably qualified to answer this, but you hear a lot today about like how much exercise human beings should get and what they should do for optimal heart health. Would you be able to just tell me, Kapil, the straight truth about if there are any things humans can do to actually maintain health?
I will end with this. If something resonates as truth, and if one recognizes it as truth, and if one connects with it as truth, there is no belief. Belief is only when you don't know if something is true or not. Therefore, you make a conscious decision to believe. But if something resonates, if it resonates as truth, there is no reason to resort